Today I'm going to be talking to y'all about the importance of discipline. And Hebrews 12:11 says that no discipline is pleasant at the time, but in the end it produces a harvest of righteousness for those who are trained by it. And so, a lot of times we don't, it may not seem like discipline is something that's needed. And I've gotten disciplined. I'm sure everybody can kind of relate to getting disciplined at least once in their life. We all grow up and we get in trouble at home or something like that, or at school, whatever it is. We get disciplined some way or another. But just to be more specific, I'm going to talk to you about the importance of discipline, why we get disciplined, what happens when we're not disciplined, and even self-discipline, and also the different ways that we get disciplined. So the first way that many people are familiar with is corporal punishment, which is, if you don't know what corporal punishment is basically physical discipline. Whether it just be a slap on the wrist or spankings that you give little kids, or just something like that. There was one study by a scientist or a psychologist named Elizabeth Thompson Gershoff, and she did actually 88 different studies of corporal punishment, and she discovered that although it's effective, the more harshly and more often you hit a child or whoever you give the corporal punishment to, it increases the rate or increases the percentage of that person getting aggressive or even having mental problems in the future. And so she said that it's important and it's good, but it can also lead to maltreatment and even abuse if it's distributed too often, or if it's just not balanced with other things. And so that's the positive or the negative effects of corporal punishment. But there's also obviously the positive effects. There's another side to it, which is one person wrote in his article that just by the intimidation factor of having a paddle on like a desk at school or something like that, or if somebody's acting up or a student is, and you can even hold it out. They may just get kind of scared and just kind of, because I don't want to get hurt. You know what I mean? And so just for the fact of that, it's enough incentive for that person to kind of behave. And just the intimidation factor of the corporal punishment will bring order. It's just the issue is you have to balance it with other things. And so on the other side of corporal punishment, there's obviously non-physical punishment, which is non-corporal punishment. And that could be anything from groundings. If you tell a 5-year-old to sit in a corner, that's the same thing, non-physical punishment. And many people believe that is actually the best way, just because it's not abusive, and if you do non-physical punishment the right way, it can lead to better behavior over a long time and less negative effects, obviously. And so we talked about how we get punished, but what about self-discipline? Why do we need self-discipline? Well, Lou Holtz actually said that without self-discipline, success is impossible, period. You can't have success if you're not disciplined, if you don't discipline yourself. And really, the issue with being self-disciplined and being successful and things like that is the issue of saying no to something now so you can say yes to something later. Or the issue is called delayed gratification. Many people want it instantly, and when they don't really think about the long-term things that they can get. Like if you want to buy a cheap car, you can save up to buy a more expensive car, but if you want that car now, you're more likely you're probably going to go with whatever feels good at the time. And so, and actually, self-discipline is very effective when it comes to finances even. Dave Ramsey, which is a world-renowned financial advisor, or he deals with finances a lot, he speaks around the world, and he actually says that finances and stuff like that is 20% knowledge and 80% behavior. So basically, if you can't get a handle on how you use it, or your behavior right on how you spend money, then you're not going to be able to have money, because you're just going to spend it all. So that's self-discipline. But what happens if we don't have any discipline at all? If we're just walking around just doing whatever we want and not really getting punished for it, or not really doing anything about it? Many people say that it leads to bad behavior. And with children, if you don't discipline them as they grow up, then they'll even have a disrespect of authority, and that can also lead to job loss. They won't respect their bosses, obviously, if they don't respect authority. they won't listen at school, and just stuff like that. And one psychologist actually had a mother come in and talk to her about her kids. And she said that her kids were having symptoms of the bipolar disorder or ADHD, but really the scientists figured out that it wasn't a mental disorder, it was actually just a profound lack of discipline that the mother was lacking when she would get the child in trouble. Basically, she was letting the child do whatever she wanted, and there was no problems, and so that led to hyperactivity, and basically led to symptoms that looked like mental disorders. So today we've gone over self-discipline, why it's important to be disciplined, the different methods of discipline. And so the truth is about all this is, the one thing I want you to get out of it is that discipline is super important. Even though sometimes we don't like to get in trouble, or we think when we get to trouble it's stupid, or whatever it is, it's really important because it leads us, it lays the foundations of success, really. And Proverbs actually talks about this, which is the book of wisdom, and it says that if you leave a child by himself, it brings shame to his mother. And so discipline is super important.